Hi, welcome back. In this video, I will show you how you can create your desired reality. Now, first things first, why do some people seem to find success in life while others don't? Now, there are obviously a lot of different types of success, but in this video, I'm referring to the very top of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. It is the feeling of becoming everything you are capable of becoming, to feel every single day that you're moving toward the fulfillment of your inherent possibilities. Now, this is what I mean when I speak of success. So it's easy then to say that most people in life don't realize this potential. They achieve so much less than they are capable of achieving. And obviously factors such as family, wealth, connections, appearance, all these things can play a big role. They are not the entire cause of one's success. The one thing successful people do have in common is their mindset. It's your mindset which makes you either average or successful in life. And this is a really good thing because your mind is the one thing you have full control over in your life. However, you must learn how to use it to its fullest. As Haanel writes, which I'll be going into more later in this video, mind power is the ability to control our thoughts and to determine for ourselves how any experience is to affect us. And if you think about this, it makes a lot of sense because you are your thoughts. If your thoughts are always negative, insecure, self-deprecating, then this will affect how you feel, and how you feel impacts how you act. And then this is what shapes your life and who you are as a person. However, if your thoughts are positive and uplifting, if you have an unstoppable mindset, then this will give you an entirely different experience as you go throughout life. And it's the same idea with how experiences affect you. You're the only one who decides how you feel about things. You can walk away from an experience feeling embarrassed, ashamed, or you can take it as a lesson and feel grateful and quite confident about this. And this is entirely in your hands. I know I used to harbor so much embarrassment, and it's something I would hold on to for years, feeling bad about myself, and I would see other people who don't let these situations get to them, who don't seem to care, and I would envy them for this. And then I realized that I am the one fabricating these feelings and making myself experience it in this way myself. No one else is making me feel this way except for myself. And I can choose to experience any situation in life the way I want to. Everything in life depends on your thoughts. So how do your thoughts lead to success? Well, your thoughts create your reality because they control your emotions, your actions, your experiences, and as a result of all of this, your life. It all starts with your thoughts. Now, to understand why, I want to look at the law of cause and effect, which explains that for every result, there is a cause. Now, your thoughts are the causes. They are the causative agents, and the result is the condition of your life. We often think it's the other way around, but it's not. Everything starts with your thoughts. And only 10% of your thoughts or mind power is conscious. The rest is unconscious, and it runs in the background all the time, still influencing everything you do, how you feel, what you believe. For example, if you're walking around in life thinking how tired you are, how bad you feel, maybe you're feeling guilty or lazy, then this influences everything you do. You will feel physically worse. You will then avoid taking action, and you will be limiting yourself in opportunities because of these thoughts. However, if you think to yourself, regardless of how you actually feel, that you feel terrific, that you feel amazing, and you think this to yourself over and over, then this is how you will act, and this is what will shape your life accordingly. I really suggest trying this right now. If you say out loud to yourself, I feel terrific, and really put your heart into it and feel the words resonate in yourself, because if these are your thoughts, then you will live and act like someone who feels terrific. And when I'm having a bad day, when I'm feeling low, because that's when it's easiest to fall into negative thinking. It's when you're feeling tired, emotional, or stressed, then I will often repeat this to myself over and over. I will think, I feel terrific, I feel terrific, and it very often puts a smile on my face. You especially want to do this right before going to sleep and in the mornings, first thing when you wake up, to have some kind of mantra you can repeat to yourself, because this is the easiest time for it to seep into your subconscious and work in your sleep. Now, another thing is that it is so important to monitor your inner dialogue. Now, if you're in a tricky situation, do you tend to have positive or negative thoughts, or what kind of ratio of both? Do you have thoughts come into your mind such as, I don't want to do this. Why does this always happen to me? Why is life so unfair? I've recently been seeing a lot of posts on social media where people jokingly over the smallest problem will say, why does God always give me his toughest battles? And the thing is, as Florence Scovel-Shinn has written in her book, the subconscious mind knows no humor, and people very often joke themselves into bad situations in life because these are still the kind of thoughts and comments that you are feeding your mind that will then show up in your reality. So you want to be very careful with the thoughts you entertain in your mind. And another thing I just want to add in at this point, if you have a habit, for example, of making self-deprecating jokes, then try to stop doing that entirely. That is one of the worst things that really affects how you feel about yourself and the type of person you become with time, because even if you don't mean it seriously, it has a very big impact on your life. And this is what I mean with your thoughts being the cause and the conditions of your life being the result. The one thing we have full control over in life, the one thing that is truly ours, is our thoughts. Focus on positive thoughts to create positive conditions. So the idea is then, if you want more of a certain condition, then you want to find the cause and multiply it. For example, think of the last time you experienced a condition that you really enjoyed and you want more of. Let's say you went out with some friends and you had a great time, you felt very confident about yourself, then you want to find what the cause was for this. Maybe you felt happy because you had thoughts at the time that your friends really appreciate you, that you feel good about yourself, that you look great. These kind of thoughts are the causative agents. These are the thoughts you want to multiply. So think and speak to yourself all the time, I look great, my friends and loved ones appreciate me and love me, and you want to think this to yourself all the time, over and over again, and you will get more of the result. But on the flip side, if you have a condition that you don't want, then you want to find and eradicate the cause. Let's say, for example, you feel insecure when going out and socializing, then try to find the thoughts that are causing this. Do you entertain thoughts such as, oh, I feel so awkward, nobody likes me, I won't fit in? Then these are the thoughts you need to push out of your mind and get rid of them entirely. Think of it like this: your life is a mirror of the thoughts you entertain in your mind, and they will take up the same percentage as you give them of your mental power. If half the time you are harboring thoughts of fear and doubt and insecurity and worry, then this will be reflected, and these will be the problems that you perceive to have in your life. But if you realize that these are just thoughts, that's all they are. If you didn't have these thoughts, what would you even fear or worry about? How would you handle situations differently? How differently would you experience life? For example, notice how people who always talk about their problems, who are always complaining about their life, so-called negative people, they always seem to have a never-ending supply of problems. And that is because this is what they are constantly thinking about. This is what they are giving their mental energy to. And therefore, these are the problems that they are attracting into their life, because it's taking up such a big portion of their mind, of their thoughts, of their energy. So that's what they attract. For example, Brian Tracy says that people who have financial problems are in this condition because they constantly fill their mind with thoughts of fear, worry, lack, limitation, and problems, so this is what they bring into their life. However, people who are very successful, the top percent, they focus all of their mental energy only on what it is they want, and therefore this is what they attract, this is what they get. And I know a lot of people may want to argue or disagree on this, but if you think about this for a minute, think about the problems you currently have in your life. And then ask yourself, How much time do you spend thinking about these problems? How much of your mental energy does it take up? The reason why so many people are unsuccessful and unhappy today is because they continuously think about what it is they don't want. All they think about is problems and lack and limitations. The reason why so few people are successful and happy in life is because they keep their minds on what it is they desire. Just think, what do the successful think about all the time? They think of growth, production, affluence. And what do unsuccessful people think about? They think of lack and limitation and problems and ill health and how little they have. And you have to realize that whatever you think about on a continuous basis is what you draw into your life and make a reality because of this superconscious capability. I know from my own experience, when I was in the lowest phase of my life, my mind was full of negative thoughts. It was full of thoughts of limitation and lack and fears and worries, and this is exactly what my reality became. For example, in one of my first videos on this channel, I talked about anxiety because this is something I used to really struggle with, and I felt that my anxiety controlled my life completely. It made everything feel impossible for me, and eventually I decided that this was just a habit of my mind. All these anxious thoughts, they were just thoughts that were repeating themselves on a loop. It was something that became a habit. And from that point on, when I went out and I would have these anxious thoughts come up, I would try to pause and stop and tell myself, I am not anxious, regardless of how I actually felt. I would tell myself, I am excited, I am happy to be here, I am so grateful, I love doing this, because feelings follow your thoughts. So I would feed myself the thoughts of how I wanted to feel, even if it was the opposite of what was going on in my head at the time. And I found that this was the single most powerful and effective way for me to deal with anxiety and anxious thoughts. It's choosing to use your conscious voice, the voice in your head that you can control and that you can speak into, by responding to these anxious thoughts with how you want to feel. For example, if you go out and you have thoughts just running through your head of, oh my gosh, everyone is looking at me and judging me, and I feel uncomfortable and I'm not welcome here. Instead, speak back to these thoughts and tell yourself, I love to be here. I love doing this. I'm so happy. I am in my element. And the more you do this, the more it will become true. So it's the thoughts that you keep in your mind that become your reality. And this is the same for goals and your vision too. No matter how big your goals, no matter how far away they may appear, if you can hold them in your mind on a continuous basis, you can make them your reality. Think of the most successful people. They are single-focused. All of their focus and energy is on a single goal. It's just like the saying, the most successful people in life aren't just disciplined, they are obsessed. Now, I know a lot of this is easier said than done, to just say, oh, just get rid of negative thoughts, which cause negative conditions. It's the same as saying just don't think about it and don't worry. But how can you actually do this? Well, Tracy has a great challenge for this to completely shift your mindset and with it transform your life. For 21 days, you must keep your mind on what you want and keep it off of what you don't want. Keep your conversations on what you want and keep your conversations off of what you don't want. Your dreams, imagination, thoughts, feelings, everything within your environment, keep it consistent with what you desire and keep it off of what you don't desire. Very simple, not very complicated. It's one of the most difficult things you will ever do. If you will go on this positive mental diet for 21 days, the goal is to become what he calls a purely positive person. Just imagine if your thoughts, which are entirely within your control, are focused only on what you want, then your life will very quickly reflect this. Tracy says that in only 21 days of following this, your life will change completely. But of course, while this may be simple, it's not easy. And this is why you have to show grace with yourself. You don't want to fall into black or white thinking. Instead, try to think of it as percentages. Let's say if you have, optimistically speaking, for the average person, if you have 1% of control over your thoughts, then the goal is to gradually increase this so that you can intentionally take up more and more of your mind power and use it in the way that you wish. You want to learn to control your thoughts and your words, but it may be easier to start with your words. One of the best notes that I had taken from Tracy's seminar that I have up on my wall as a constant reminder is this: don't say anything you don't wish to be true. This is incredibly powerful, but also incredibly difficult. Only when I started paying attention to my words in this way did I notice how much I say out of habit, without thought, how much I entertain my problems or focus on the negatives, and with all of this, how much of a difference it makes when I do otherwise. So I really suggest becoming aware of the way you speak and trying to follow this rule for yourself. Don't say anything you don't wish to be true. So what does this look like? Tracy gives an example, and he explains if somebody asks you how you feel, you say terrific. If they ask how work is going, you say it's going great. How's your relationship? Couldn't be better. You get the idea, and this is exactly how you want to learn to respond. Don't talk about negative things, because when you talk about negative things, you increase them and you draw more into your life. Now, if you do this and you really observe yourself and make an effort to only say the things you wish to be true, then you will notice, first of all, how much we say without intention. And the second thing you'll notice is how much your life will begin to change. It's very simple, but it will be quite a challenge. For some people, it may be easier. For others who might be more negative thinkers, it will be harder, but all the more rewarding. It's also worth noting that some relationships, friendships, people will tend to be a lot more negative. I used to have some friends where we would always have very negative conversations because this is what it would just fall back to. And when I tried to start changing this in myself, I found it very difficult to actually change this negative thinking with certain people. So it's something you really need to be intentional and careful about. And when people come to you with problems, you can still listen. You can be empathetic and be kind about it, give them the space. And when they're done, you can ask them, well, what do you think you should do about it? But you do not want to participate in complaining, only seeing the negatives. You want to be solution-oriented. And there will be some people who don't like this. And if you have to, then you may need to consider cutting them out of your life, because it's this negative energy, this negative thinking that will be drawing problems into your life as well. However, I'm certain that a lot of people who may be big negative thinkers will actually appreciate you changing this dynamic in the relationship. So already noticing and changing this habit in ourselves can have such a big impact on the people around us as well. It can make a big positive difference. However, some people, they fall in love with their suffering. They feel they've paid for it, they've invested so much emotionally in it, they've lived with it for so long that they become very reluctant to give it up. It's something they really cling on to, and it's all they want to speak about because they cannot imagine their life or themselves without this suffering. And I think this is a habit that a lot of us can fall into. When we feel unhappy, when we've been through a lot, we're very hesitant or afraid even to let this go, because if we let it go, if we leave this behind us, even though it does nothing for us now in the present, to linger on that, then we feel that it maybe becomes meaningless, that it wasn't as important as we felt it was in the past. But you have to realize that this kind of thinking is completely counterproductive. Ask yourself, what is this doing for you now? Is it helping you or is it hurting you? What do you actually lose from focusing only on the life you want to live and bringing that into your life? We don't need to be focused on the negatives. We don't even need to be talking about it all the time. You're the one who benefits from becoming a purely positive person. And it's people who grasp onto their suffering like this, you can't talk them out of it. And this is exactly what holds most people back in life. They're so controlled by their past that they give up control over their future. And then what happens? If you're always looking back, if you're so stuck and determined by your past, then you're just falling through life. The days pass behind you. You don't get to experience that success of self-actualization that I mentioned at the start of the video. The feeling of every day moving toward the fulfillment of your inherent possibilities. The feeling of becoming all that you are capable of becoming. That is the goal. That is the goal of self-development, self-actualization. That is your unique potential, as Jung would say. And you can only achieve this by making full use of your mind, by being intentional about it, by learning to control the mind in order to realize this potential. Now, learning to take control of the mind is difficult, and that's why the subconscious becomes so important. Now, in some of my other videos where I've talked about shadow work, a question I often get is, why bother? Why bother with the unconscious? What can the unconscious do for us? And the answer to that is because only 10% of your mind power is within your conscious control. The other 90% is unconscious. It's raw power without direction. And if you rely on the conscious mind alone, you can at best achieve 10% of what you are capable of. You can reach maybe 10% of your full potential. And this may be what you actually experience when you try to think positively. For example, right now, you can sit there and think to yourself, I feel terrific. You can say this 10 times, 100 times even if you focus long enough, but eventually your mind will slip back into its normal thought patterns. You won't even realize your thoughts, and already they'll be back to problems and fears and worries and all sorts of negative things. And this invisible weight, this default that your mind slips back into, that you try to push against when you're trying to be positive, this is the power of the subconscious. No matter how much you can use your conscious thought, which is that voice that you speak in your mind, to speak of what you want, to say you feel terrific, you will inevitably fall back into your old thinking patterns. And these will be things such as fears, insecurities, limiting beliefs. A lot of this lives within the unconscious. So if you want to become a purely positive person and change your life, and keep your mind on what you want and keep it off of what you don't want, then you must learn to control both. So how can you actually do this? Well, here are some things to help you with this 21-day challenge that I have found very helpful in myself. And keep in mind, you can obviously adjust this however you wish. First, you want to become aware of your current mindset. You want to become aware of all the thoughts that are currently occupying your mind. And to do this, I recommend taking 15 to 30 minutes a day, finding a quiet spot where you can sit undisturbed, and just like in meditation, sit still, close your eyes, and let your mind wander. Become an observer in your own mind and notice where your thoughts go. What comes into your mind? What do you think about? And really let it wander wherever it wants to go. And at the end of this time, you can grab a notepad and just write some of this down. Take notes of what are the main thoughts that are coming into your mind that you focus on. What kind of thoughts do you tend to have? Are they mostly positive, mostly negative? Are they exciting? Are they worried? You want to start building this awareness. And if you do this for a week or so, one thing you'll notice that I have is that in the beginning, your thoughts may flow in 100 different directions. They will be very scattered, but as you focus on them, they will start to collect and become one stream, which you can then start to direct. This is the goal. And as Haanel writes, as one of the laws in his book, is that all possession is based on consciousness. All gain is the result of an accumulation of consciousness. All loss is the result of a scattering of consciousness. When your thoughts are scattered, it becomes very hard to focus on any one thing, or rather, you lose your focus very easily because you're being pulled, your attention is being pulled in so many different directions. It becomes difficult to focus on anything long enough to achieve it, and instead, you tend to just become reactive to life. You want to channel your thoughts in a single stream and direct its power towards what you want and not what you don't want. Haanel also writes, the world without is a reflection of the world within, and that we create these conditions unconsciously. And if these conditions are unfavorable, then the remedy is to consciously alter our mental attitude and then see life adjust itself to the new mental condition. The mind creates negative conditions just as easily as favorable ones. Whether we are consciously or unconsciously visualizing lack, limitations, fears, worries, doubts, then we create these conditions in our life. And this is what so many of us are doing unconsciously all the time. Just think of your current life, all of the good and bad, and then think of the thoughts that you entertain in your mind. I bet it will be an exact reflection of this, because your thoughts come to life in the world around you. Now, I want to read you one last little bit from Haanel that I find fits very well here. He writes, "Every thought tends to become a material thing. Our desires are seed thoughts that have a tendency to sprout and grow and blossom and bear fruit. We are sowing these seeds every day. What shall the harvest be? Each of us today is the result of his past thinking. Later, we shall be the result of what we are now thinking. We create our own character, personality, environment by the thought which we originate or entertain. Thought seeks its own. The law of mental attraction is an exact parallel to the law of atomic affinity. Mental currents are as real as electric, magnetic, or heat currents. We attract the currents with which we are in harmony. Are we selecting those which will be conducive to our success? This is the important question." So, keep this in mind as you do this exercise where you're observing your thoughts, and once you've done this and you feel you have a pretty good grasp of it, I want you to add a second layer to it. This time, you still sit still and observe your thoughts just as before for 15 to 30 minutes a day, but this time you want to inhibit all thought. For this period of time, you want to keep your mind on what you want and keep it off of what you don't want. Whenever a negative thought comes into your mind, a fear, worry, doubt, insecurity, then push it out of your mind. You want to stop it in its tracks and bring your attention back to something else. Bring your attention back to what you want. Now, this sounds simple, but it takes a lot of mental energy and effort to do. When you do this, you are developing your mental muscle, which will then allow you to control your thoughts and use them intentionally to create the reality you desire. Because remember, your reality, the life you live now, is a reflection of all thoughts that occupy your mind. If you cannot control 99% of them and they are scattered and negative and they contain fear, worry, limitation, then this is what your life will be. If you want to change the condition, you have to find and change the cause. And all your thoughts are causes. So this is where you have to start. You learn to control the mind. You learn to control your thoughts. And just like a muscle, this is something that you have to train to do. You have to build up. So if you do this challenge for 21 days, I really suggest using this exercise of at first becoming aware of your thoughts, what kind of thoughts come into your mind, what you entertain day to day, and then actively choosing to focus only on what you want and keeping your mind off of what you don't want. The more you do this, the more control you gain over your thoughts. Remember, I said this is like a percentage. You want to gradually increase the percentage of control you have over your mind, because the more you can control your thoughts, the more you control your reality. If you do this, and you do this consistently, 30 minutes a day of keeping your mind on what you want and keeping it off of what you don't want, then you will notice just how powerful the mind is. You will see how much your life begins to change, and you will start to develop this like a muscle. It will become easier and more natural for you to direct your thoughts. You will have more control over it. And then do this for 21 days and you will see your life transform. Now, any thought, plan, or idea that you hold continuously in your mind and that you intensely desire or intensely fear must be brought into your reality by the superconscious mind. Whether positive or negative, whether good or bad for you, if you can hold it continuously, emotionalize it, visualize it in your conscious mind, then the superconscious mind will bring it into your reality. It will organize the people and circumstances in your life to make this idea come true. Just think of how we get stuck in recurring patterns in life, how the life we live is the result of both our conscious and unconscious motivations. And oftentimes, these are in conflict with one another, and this is when we start to create problems. This is when we start to self-sabotage. Your thoughts are extremely powerful. They become your reality. You must keep your mind on what you want and keep it off of what you don't want. You want to think continuously, non-stop, all the time, only on what it is you desire, and keep your mind completely off of what it is you do not desire. This is how you can change your life, how you can create the reality you desire, and it all starts with your thoughts. It's just like the saying, change your thoughts, change your life. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.